I was already sweating when I got the bird in the brine. It was Tuesday morning, 3 days before Thanksgiving, and I was the only one at the lake house. No surprise there. My folks always said, "Come early if you want to get ahead," which somehow translated into, "Come early so you can do all the crap no one else wants to." My name's Ben. I'm 32, live in Madison, Wisconsin, and I've been doing the family grunt work since I was tall enough to reach the stove. That morning, I'd already scrubbed the grill out back, rearranged patio chairs, deep cleaned the guest bath, and lugged 2 folding tables up from the basement. My back was screaming. My phone, silent. No, thanks, no, need help, just silence. Quick note, before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from? By the time Thanksgiving Day rolled around, the lake house looked like a magazine spread. I'd set out all the fall decor, ironed the tablecloths, and even shined the silverware my mom only brings out for occasions. Then, right on cue, 1 o'clock sharp, my brother Evan showed up. Aviators, leather jacket, stupid grin. He strolled in like he was hosting the thing. "Hey, Benny boy," he said, dropping a bottle of wine on the counter like it was some royal offering. I didn't even look up. I was wrist-deep in gravy. Later, when dinner was finally ready, I was still in the kitchen wiping down the counters. That's when I heard it, Dad's voice from the dining room. "Let's raise a glass to Evan," he said. "Thanks for bringing the family together this year." I froze, rag in hand. Did I hear that right? I peeked into the dining room. Everyone was seated, plates full, drinks raised, laughing, smiling. No one had waited. I was still scraping hardened cranberry sauce off the stovetop. I grabbed the gravy boat, walked over, and set it in the middle of the table without a word. Just as I turned to leave, Evan said, "Hey, can you grab some ice for my drink?" That was it. I looked straight at him and said, "No." The room went dead quiet. Forks froze halfway to mouths. Even Mom blinked like I'd slapped someone. I walked back into the kitchen, heart pounding, ears ringing. For once, I let myself feel it, really feel it. I was just the help, and I'd finally had enough. I needed a breather, so I ducked back into the kitchen. My hands were still wet from scrubbing pans, and my shirt clung to my back. The whole place smelled like turkey skin and lemon cleaner. I leaned against the counter, trying to calm my breathing. My mouth was dry. That's when I saw it. Mom's iPad sitting on the windowsill, screen still on. Facebook was open. I wasn't trying to snoop, but her post stared me right in the face, top of the feed in bold blue. "So excited to try Evan's menu this year. He always comes up with something amazing." I blinked, read it again, then again. My jaw clenched so tight I could feel my molars grinding. Evan's menu? I'd brined the turkey, made the stuffing, mashed the potatoes, roasted the carrots, baked the cornbread. I even piped the damn whipped cream on the pumpkin pie. Evan? He showed up with a bottle of wine and a smirk. I tapped the post. Her photo gallery popped up. Dozens of Thanksgiving shots over the years. Evan laughing, Evan carving, Evan raising a toast. In everyone, I was in the background, sweaty, half-turned, carrying something, cleaning something, blurry like a ghost passing through. One from 2 years ago. I was holding a tray of rolls, looking off camera while Evan was dead center, holding a knife like he'd actually done something with it. Not a single caption mentioned me. Not one tag. Not one "thanks to Ben for all the hard work." Just Evan this, Evan that. Comments full of hearts and "your son's amazing." It was like I didn't even exist. "Ben, where's the pie?" Mom called from the dining room. No, "Hey, come eat." No, "You okay?" Just a request. Like I was back of house staff in a restaurant. I wiped my hands on a dish towel and grabbed the pie from the fridge. The whipped cream had set perfectly. I'd made it from scratch, just like every year. I carried it out to the dining table, where they were all sitting, still eating, laughing. My dad was talking about Evan's great taste in wine. My aunt was asking about his new job. No one looked up when I set the pie down. No one said thanks. Evan didn't even pause the story he was telling about some beach bar in Florida. I sliced and served them in silence. My legs ached from standing all day, but there wasn't a single empty chair left at the table. I stood by the hutch, arms crossed, watching them shovel in dessert like it had fallen from the sky. Not one person noticed I hadn't eaten yet. Not one. I looked at the pie tin, still half full, still perfect. I thought about chucking the whole thing out the window. Instead, I picked up a stray fork, scraped off a bite, and ate it cold, leaning against the counter like I didn't belong at the table. Because I didn't. Not really. They only saw me when they needed something, when something had to be carried, cleaned, cooked, or fixed. Anything that required actual effort, that was my job. And the second it was done, I went invisible again. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A work email. I didn't even check it, just stared at the screen like it might say something that could drag me out of that room. The sound of laughter burst from the table again. Evan had just made some joke, probably about how hard adulting was, and they all ate it up. Mom wiped tears from her eyes. I didn't smile. I didn't speak. I just stood there with that fork in my hand, staring at the same people I'd been killing myself to serve year after year. And in that moment, something clicked. I was still holding the fork when Evan leaned back in his chair and said, real casual, "So yeah, we finally closed on the beach house. Clearwater, 3-bed, 2-bath, ocean view." The table lit up like fireworks. Dad grinned like he'd just been told he won the lottery. "That's my boy. Beachfront, huh? You're really moving up in the world." Mom clasped her hands like she was watching a Hallmark movie. "I can't wait to see it. We'll have to plan a trip down." I walked behind them, clearing the used dessert plates one by one. Nobody made room. Nobody paused. "Got a hot tub, too," Evan added. "Bree already picked out some ridiculous deck furniture. She wants one of those fire pit tables." "Oh, that sounds so cozy," Aunt Connie said, laughing. I scraped whipped cream into the trash and loaded the dishwasher while they planned vacations to his new getaway. Nobody asked where I was living these days. Not that it mattered. I was still renting a cramped one-bedroom on the east side. Landlord hadn't fixed the heat in weeks. Dad swirled his wine. "Glad we could help get you settled. A place like that's an investment." I froze. The plate in my hand slipped, clanked into the sink louder than I meant. I turned slowly. "You helped him?" Mom nodded without blinking. "Just a small amount. Everyone needs help with a down payment these days." "No," I said. "Not everyone. I asked you for help when I was trying to buy my condo 5 years ago." She gave that tight, polite smile. "That was different." "How?" I asked. Dad didn't even look at me. "The market was bad then." "Bullshit. That wasn't the reason. They just didn't think I was worth betting on." I backed away from the sink. My hands were shaking. Then Aunt Connie stood up, went over to Evan, and patted his shoulder. "By the way, hun, I've decided to give you Grandma's old gun cabinet. You've got the space for it now, and I know you'll take care of it." I stopped cold. That cabinet? That was the only thing I ever wanted from Grandma's house. We used to clean it together when I was a kid. She told me I'd make a fine keeper of history. Evan didn't even hunt. I opened my mouth, but Mom beat me to it. "It makes sense. Evan has the room, and he's settled." I stared at her. "I asked you about that cabinet after Grandma passed. You said it wasn't the time." She waved me off like I was talking about a grocery list. "Things change." I picked up a cloth and started wiping up a puddle of spilled gravy near Dad's plate. No one moved to help. No one even acknowledged the mess had happened. Evan was already pulling up photos of the beach house on his phone, flipping through them while Aunt Connie gushed over the natural light. I stood there, holding the filthy rag, stuck between Dad's elbow and a folding chair. That's when it hit me. They didn't hate me. That would have required effort. They just didn't see me. Not unless something needed to be fetched or fixed. Not unless a burner was smoking or a stain hit the rug. I finally understood something that had been chasing me for years. I could burn myself out in that kitchen every damn holiday and still be the guy mopping up behind them while they toasted Evan for holding us all together. I dropped the cloth in the sink and walked outside without a word. The cold air slapped me in the face. It felt better than anything that had happened inside that house all day. I stood outside in the cold until my fingers went numb. The lake was black glass under the moonlight, and for the first time all day, nobody was asking me for a damn thing. I breathed deep, let the frost bite into my lungs, and swore I wouldn't forget that moment. 3 weeks later, my phone buzzed with a group text. "Mom, Christmas at Evans this year. He'll need help setting up. Ben, could you handle green bean casserole, rolls, sweet potatoes, and dessert? Maybe come a few hours early to help him get settled." I stared at the screen until the words blurred. 4 dishes, plus setup, at Evan's new place. Like I was being scheduled for a shift. My chest tightened, heavy like I was strapped to a chair I couldn't get out of. I didn't reply, not right away. At work the next morning, I screwed up. Missed a deadline for the first time in 5 years. My boss, Mr. Turner, poked his head into my cubicle. "You all right, Ben? You never miss stuff like this." "Yeah, just holiday stress," I muttered, rubbing my temple. He gave me a look. "Don't burn yourself out. You're solid here. Don't lose that." I nodded, but I couldn't shake the pit in my stomach. By the time I got home, I was chewing Tums straight from the bottle like they were Skittles. Couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. My brain kept running laps: green beans, rolls, sweet potatoes, dessert. And then the vision of me standing in Evan's shiny new kitchen, apron on, while everyone raised a toast to him again. One night, I pulled out an old notebook and started writing. Big letters at the top of the page. What do I want? I stared at it for a long time. The page stayed empty except for those 3 words. Finally, I wrote, "I don't want to keep being the family servant. Under that, I want peace. I want out." The next morning, I called in a personal day for Friday. Just the thought of skipping work to breathe made my shoulders drop an inch. I sat on the edge of my bed, scrolling through my phone, when Jessica from accounting texted. "Hey, random, want to come to my no family holiday bash? Christmas Eve, couple friends, open bar at my place, chill, no drama." I stared at the screen. My chest actually warmed a little. I typed back before I could overthink it. "Yeah, I'm in." When Christmas week hit, Mom followed up in the group chat. "Ben, don't forget your dishes." I just let the notification sit there. Didn't answer, didn't explain. Friday came, and for the first time in years, I wasn't loading my car with groceries, folding tables, or aluminum pans. I wasn't mapping out oven schedules in my head. I wasn't rehearsing the fake smile I'd put on while Dad toasted Evan. Instead, I drove downtown, picked up a 6-pack, and headed to Jessica's. Her apartment was buzzing. Music, laughter, the smell of takeout. People I barely knew shoved drinks into my hand and dragged me into conversations about movies, dumb work stories, weekend plans. Nobody expected me to refill their glasses. Nobody asked me to grab ice or fix the thermostat. I sat on her couch, beer in hand, while someone passed me a plate of nachos. Hot cheese, messy, perfect. I laughed when somebody told a bad joke, and for once it wasn't forced. Halfway through the night, Jessica plopped down beside me and said, "You look like a guy who just got paroled." "Feels like it," I said, and it did. That night, walking home in the cold, I realized something simple but huge. I didn't have to show up. Not to them, not anymore. For once I'd tasted what it felt like to be free of it all. And I wanted more. The next morning, my phone rang. Mom's name lit up the screen. I knew exactly why she was calling. I answered anyway. "Hey, Ben," she said, chipper like she was hosting a telethon. "Did you get my text about the dishes? Evan's really counting on you. He's been working so hard getting the house ready." I pinched the bridge of my nose. "Yeah, I saw it." "Well," she asked, "you'll bring the usual, right? Green beans, rolls, sweet potatoes, and dessert. And maybe get there a little early. Evan could use some extra hands." My jaw locked. "No." Silence, then a nervous laugh. "No? What do you mean, no?" "I mean, I'm not doing it. I have my own work, my own life. I'm not showing up early like some hired help." Her voice sharpened. "This is Christmas, Ben. Everyone pitches in. Evan's putting in a lot of effort." I almost laughed. Effort? He's throwing open his front door and pouring wine. Meanwhile, I've been carrying this holiday for years. Every meal, every table, every dish. And nobody notices unless it's not done. "That's not fair," she shot back. "We've always been close. We've always appreciated you." My stomach twisted, but I didn't back down. "No, Mom, you've always used me. There's a difference. You praise Evan, you help him buy houses, you hand him Grandma's cabinet. Me? You hand me a mop and a list." Her breathing changed, shallow and quick, like she'd been slapped. "Ben, that's not how it is. It's exactly how it is, and I'm done pretending otherwise." For once I didn't soften it, didn't clean it up to make her feel better. I let it hang there, heavy, because it was the truth. The silence stretched. I could almost hear her shifting the phone from one hand to the other, waiting for me to crack, waiting for me to say I didn't mean it. But I did. Every word. Finally, she whispered, "I don't even know what to say." "Good," I said flatly. And I hung up. No apology, no comfort. Just the click of the call ending and the sudden, sharp quiet that followed. I sat on my couch, phone still in my hand, the silence from the call settling over me like a heavy coat. Before I could even start spiraling, there was a knock at my door. Jessica stood outside, holding a bag of Thai food and a folder in her other hand. "Figured you could use a break from emotional labor and dry turkey," she said, walking in like she owned the place. She handed me the takeout and dropped the folder on my coffee table. "So, you need to blow town. Lucky for you, I love research. These are my top picks for a Key West Christmas escape." I opened the folder. Photos of palm trees, hotel options, even a sunset booze cruise flyer. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. She grinned. "You're allowed to disappear, you know. Nobody's gonna arrest you for skipping your family soap opera." A couple days later, Aunt Connie called. "I heard what happened," she said. "And I'm not going either. Evan can host himself." I blinked. "Wait, you're skipping Christmas at Evan's?" "Damn right. I already told your mother I'm visiting you instead. Got a spare bed or a floor I can crash on?" "Couch folds out," I said, smiling for the first time in days. She came that weekend. We ordered takeout again, drank red wine, and watched dumb Hallmark movies while ripping apart the family's group chat texts line by line. Connie never once asked me to explain my decision. She just showed up. When she left, I booked the trip to Key West. 2 full weeks. I didn't ask for time off. I told work I'd be out. No guilt, no apology. Turner actually clapped me on the back when I told him. "Good for you. You've been sharp lately, Ben." It shows. It wasn't just him. That week, a couple people from my department started swinging by my desk more often. Someone invited me to the trivia night. Another guy, Dave, asked if I wanted to hit up a brewery the next weekend. I wasn't the office ghost anymore. Even weirder, people started asking what I wanted to do for the holidays. "You got big plans? Where's Ben heading this year? You doing anything fun or just relaxing?" Every time, it caught me off guard. Not just the questions, but the tone. Like my time actually mattered. I wasn't just the reliable guy who picked up shifts or brought cookies to the break room. I was visible. Like I'd finally stepped into a room and someone looked up and saw me standing there. It felt good. The text came while I was packing for Key West. "Let's get coffee, just the two of us. We need to talk. Mom." I almost ignored it. Almost. But something in me wanted to end this on my own terms, not hers. We met at a cafe near her place. She was already sitting when I walked in, a pastel sweater tied around her shoulders like it was Easter Sunday. 2 mugs sat on the table. She smiled like nothing had happened. "Ben," she said, voice all warm and soft, "thank you for coming." I sat down without smiling, rested my own binder on the chair beside me. She reached into her tote and pulled out a thick photo album, one of the old ones with the gold-trimmed edges and plastic sleeves. "I just want to remind you," she said, flipping it open, "of how close we've always been. Remember this?" She turned the page to a picture of me at 9, helping her stir cookie dough. "You've always loved the holidays." I didn't take the bait. She flipped more pages. "You were such a helpful little boy, always my right hand. You and Evan—" I cut her off. "Yeah." Evan smiled for the camera, and I took out the trash. Her mouth pressed into a line. "Ben, I'm not here to argue." "Neither am I," I said, reaching down and opening my binder. Inside was everything. Typed out, dated, highlighted. Every holiday I'd cooked for. Every time I'd shown up early to clean. Birthdays. I'd moved around because Evan was too busy. Side-by-side snapshots I'd printed from her own Facebook. Evan center stage, raising a glass, me blurry in the background, bent over a tray. I slid one of those photos across the table. This was Thanksgiving 2 years ago. Evan didn't cook a thing. I made 5 dishes and mopped up after Dad dropped the gravy. Guess who got tagged? She glanced at it, then back at me. "Ben, that's not what this is about." "It is," I said. I slid over another photo. "Look at the pattern. Every single year, I'm the help. He's the guest of honor." "You're reading too much into it." "No, I'm finally reading it right." She stared at the pages like they might rearrange themselves into something prettier. "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying I'm not coming. Not to Christmas, not to anything where I'm expected to serve, smile, and disappear. If things change, really change, maybe we'll talk. But until then, I'm out." Her eyes welled up. "Ben, Evan doesn't even know how to cook a turkey." I leaned back in my chair. "YouTube works for everyone." She blinked, stunned. like no one had ever told her no before. The server dropped off the check between us. She reached for it out of habit. I beat her to it. "I've got it," I said, pulling out my wallet. "Ben, no strings," I said, laying down my card. "Not this time." She didn't argue, just sat there, hands folded in her lap, watching me like she didn't recognize the person in front of her. I left the binder on the table, let her sit with it, let her finally see it. 3 days after that cafe meeting, I was poolside at a boutique hotel in Key West with a cold mojito in one hand and grilled shrimp in the other when my phone buzzed. It was Aunt Connie. "You dodged a bullet," she said, before I even said hello. I smirked. "Don't tell me Evan tried to cook." "Oh, honey, he tried. Burned the turkey. Forgot to thaw it in time. Thought he could speed it up in the oven. Your dad was furious." "Let me guess. Mom tried to salvage it?" She gave up and called a catering company, showed up late with boxed mashed potatoes and a ham that tasted like rubber. I leaned back in my chair, watching the sun slide lower over the ocean. "Sounds festive. They didn't even set the table right," Connie went on. "No centerpiece, no matching dishes, and nobody knew how to fold the napkins." I took a long sip of my drink. "Did anyone ask about me?" "Not directly." "But your mom was snapping all night. Evan looked like he wanted to crawl into a hole. Your dad didn't speak through half the meal. The group chat went dead after that. Not one Merry Christmas. Not even a photo of the food, which Mom used to post like it was some Michelin-rated spread. They didn't know how to function without me, and honestly, I didn't care. I spent Christmas Day eating snapper tacos and key lime pie with coworkers who barely knew anything about my family, but treated me like I mattered. Jessica snapped a photo of me mid-laugh, beer in hand, sunglasses on, wind in my hair, no apron, no clipboard, no timer going off in the background, just me, existing. I didn't think about oven temps or gravy thickness or whether the turkey rested long enough. I didn't refill a single drink or wipe up a single spill. Nobody expected me to. And not once did I feel invisible. Not once did I feel like I owed anyone anything. Thanksgiving came around the next year, and this time, it was at my place. Just a 2-bedroom apartment in Madison with scuffed floors and a too small dining table. But it was mine. No centerpiece. No polished silver. The plates didn't match, and the folding chairs squeaked every time someone shifted. But nobody cared. Everyone brought something. Connie showed up with her famous cranberry relish. Jessica brought stuffing and a box of wine she was way too proud of. Dave from work made sweet potatoes that were half burnt and half raw. And we all ate them anyway. Nobody expected me to play chef, maid, and host all at once. I made one turkey breast in the oven and one in the slow cooker. Nothing fancy. When I sat down, nobody asked me to get up again. Halfway through dinner, Aunt Connie patted the seat next to her and leaned over. "This beats Evan's granite countertops and catered salmon, hands down." I raised my glass. To peace, not perfection. Everyone clinked their drinks and dug in. No speeches, no forced family photos. Just real people, eating real food, in a space that didn't demand more than I had to give. A week later, Dad called. His voice was softer than usual. "Your mom and I were thinking, maybe we come visit for Christmas, not to be served or anything. We could help cook, help clean up." I didn't say yes right away. I told him the rules, no drama, no sudden schedule changes, and no treating my apartment like a layover before heading to Evans. He paused, then said, "We just want to spend time. That's it." I believed him, mostly. 2 days later, Adrienne, one of Evan's old college friends, texted me out of nowhere. "Can't believe you're really skipping again?" I didn't respond, didn't need to. Later that night, I stood in my living room holding a mug of cocoa, staring at the framed photo on my wall. It was from Thanksgiving. Me, mid-laugh, Connie beside me, Jessica holding up a lopsided pie, everyone squeezed into my too small space. And there I was, front and center, no apron, no background blur.